Vince McMahon is headed to the Performance Center to scout NXT talent. Here's 5 NXT stars who should be considered.
Pro Wrestling Bits. Subscribe now.
Coming off steep roster cuts and WWE taking a ratings hit due to the far more entertaining NBA playoffs, WWE is in a transitional period as it prepares to shake up the rosters again through the 2021 WWE Draft this fall. With WWE moving away from PWG prototypes, the company has put an emphasis on bigger talents. So for many of these NXT stars, the bigger you are, the better your chance to get promoted. Thank God. Honestly, I don't know how much more of this art house internet wrestling I can take. In fact, let's start with some names who I have no interest in seeing called up, and for that matter, who Vince is likely to pass over. If your gimmick in NXT is that you wrestle good and you have a high work rate with little else to offer, I want nothing to do with you on the main roster. So bye Pete Dunne, bye Kyle O'Reilly. Johnny Gargano has a personality and a gimmick, but a sub 200-pound comedy wrestler who can work is a 24/7 guy at best. Just ask Drew Gulak. Adam Cole is charismatic and can cut a promo, but he's basically NXT Seth Rollins if Rollins was a child. This is Vince McMahon we're talking about. Not to mention a Vince McMahon in panic mode where bigger is better, and if Adam Cole hasn't been called up by now, it's probably never gonna happen the way Reddit Squared Circle wants it to. So let's get to the fully fleshed out characters and actual personalities who'd have a chance, starting with Shotzi Blackheart. Shotzi is a ready-made WWE talent who completely understands her gimmick and is even merchandisable as she rides in on a tank the way Riddle rides to the ring on a scooter, or how the New Day used to ride to the ring on an ice cream bike. Of all the NXT call-ups, many of them should be women because that division is inexplicably barren on both Raw and SmackDown, yet completely loaded in NXT with an embarrassment of riches in women's wrestling. Seriously, SmackDown has 6 active women's wrestlers. NXT has 22 who are either working or wasting away in the PC. Unacceptable. Shotzi would be perfect as a babyface sports entertainer, and while the more traditional Vince McMahon may be put off by her punk rock horrorcore vibes, unlike any of the 4 200-pound work rate guys who were fed to Karrion Kross at NXT TakeOver in your house, she stands out in the crowd and could be a top star in the women's division if given the chance. While we're talking about women, I'd be shocked if Vince didn't at least take a long look at NXT Women's Champion Raquel Gonzalez. Yes, it's still fairly early in Raquel's NXT title run, but in the grand scheme of things, she's being wasted in developmental. There is nothing on the main roster like Raquel Gonzalez, and the improving monster is slowly starting to seem like a big fish in a small pond. Karrion Kross should be a top candidate to get called up, but after seeing a preview of how they're going to screw this thing up last week on Main Event, I'm not very excited about the prospects. Kross as a character is 80% mystique and 20% wrestler. If WWE does call up Karrion Kross, I hope they don't split him up with Scarlett and take away his awe-inspiring entrance, because then he's just a Happy Meal without the toy or the burger. Karrion Kross with no bells and whistles to help him stand out is just a small order of French fries, and WWE will have wasted their time developing him if he comes to the main roster looking anything like he did during Main Event against Shelton Benjamin. Current NXT North American champion Bronson Reed was another name reportedly being considered for a call-up, and I completely agree. After promptly dropping the NXT North American title to Swerve Scott this past week, his main roster call-up is all but a formality. I mean, the man has been in the business for 14 years. The last thing he needs is more time in developmental. He's ready. Also, he's a big dude who can fly, and they don't make them by the dozens the way they make all those interchangeable short white wrestlers in NXT. Finally, I think Santos Escobar could be a diamond in the rough as an NXT call-up. He comes off as a star is the most overused term in pro wrestling, but this actually applies to Santos, who shined alongside Legado del Fantasma. WWE is still struggling to replace Rey Mysterio with a Hispanic star, something they've been desperately trying to do for well over a decade. And after Andrade became the latest failed experiment in that regard, maybe give Santos Escobar a turn. Some honorable mentions include Cameron Grimes, who's just awesome, but already seems to be hitting on all cylinders on Tuesday nights, so there shouldn't be any rush to get him to the main roster. I know Frankie Monet just started in NXT, but she's not getting any younger, and let's face it, she's already better than 80% of the women currently working on the main roster. Speaking of people better than 80% of the main roster, can Io Shirai please get called up? She's done everything there is to do in NXT. If she was there any longer, she'd be the 1,000-year-old woman.